You're listening to The Real Estate Ride. Make sure to subscribe and enjoy the show.
If you share your ideas of your perfect life or your vision with others, then it gets to a point where you can use it as a filter. And even our kids to this day now say, well, is that in your vision that you're doing that? Or are you supposed to be doing that? Because I don't think that that's in your vision for your life.
Yeah, they know when they see it and they read it. What is a vision? Why do we do it? What's the importance of it? And how important it is to have a vision. So we're just going to get right into it. We'll be using this for future purposes as well. So if you guys have any questions, ask them. Yeah, absolutely.
Make it as worthwhile for you guys as it can be. So I hope our dog and our children are all handled, but we'll see.
It's peaceful right now.
Right now it is.
I already found the mute button in case the dog starts.
Yeah, I wonder if we can mute our children. Is that allowed?
My mother never figured that out. I still talk.
All right. So the big question is, do you have a vision? Right?
Yes.
And so again, we want to go over with you.
Not a whole.
Not a whole one, just a partial.
Not a whole. Yeah.
Well, we hope to change that now. So we want to go over how to develop a vision, and this is very condensed down. So there'll be sections where if you're watching this later, we would recommend that you pause at certain spots and start to develop certain sections. Okay?
All right. So this is the slides that I came up with. My Jay was in a meeting, so he doesn't even know what's going on. All right.
Okay, so this here is a graph that we pulled off of the internet. And basically, they polled a ton of people and discovered that from that survey, 83% of the people in the United States have no goals, which was pretty shocking to me, to be honest.
It's about as bad as the number of people without savings.
Right?
Yeah, probably even higher.
Yeah, maybe.
So, people that have 14% of the population have goals, but they're in their head, right? They haven't written them down. Those people, it's been proven that they are 10 times more successful than the people with no goals at all. And then the people with written goals, like ourselves and like you guys that are in our group, are only 3% of the population, but they are 30 times more successful. And I truly believe that statistic is accurate.
Yeah, I would say so as well. We always hear, goals without being written down are just dreams, right? So, and goals that are written down and that are looked at every day become actionable items. That's why we have you as coaching students in our coaching group write down goals on a weekly basis so that you have something to look at that propels you towards your ultimate goals and your vision. And then therefore they become actionable items that way instead of just being in your head. Do you like this PowerPoint?
I do. It's beautiful. So, again, like Annie said, why do I need a vision? Goals without being written down are just dreams. Okay? Most successful people have not only written the vision, but a vision board as well. And I think everybody can agree, like the person that's probably the most well-known in the world for vision board, in my opinion, is Oprah Winfrey. who, by the way, just happens to be a billionaire. And, you know, she has her own internet channel, her own TV channel, her own podcast. She does movies.
Her own TV network at this point.
Right. So how does she achieve all that? Well, she writes it down and she plans it out. And this quote from her: create the highest, grandest vision possible for your life, because you become what you believe. And just to touch on that some more, there is neuroscience that supports that is 100% scientifically proven. People that write it down, it gets stored in your hippocampus, and your brain basically makes itself believe that it's already true. So that is why we say not only should you write out a vision, but you should print it off. You should read it every day. That's part of my morning affirmations, is reading the vision of what I want my life to be like. And some people even record it
in their own voice and listen to it when they go back and forth. One of our coaches does that.
Yep.
So he has his personal vision written out, and then he took that vision and recorded it onto a disc. And then he plays that disc wherever he goes, so that he hears himself talking about his vision. And then also why we say to write it down in present tense, as if it's already happening, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But anything else right now?
No, that's it for that, I think, for now.
So I guess the biggest thing that I always try to think about when working on our vision, and Jay and I have redone our vision a couple different times, because it is a, what we like to say, living, breathing document. So it's always changing, and you're always accomplishing things that, 6 months or a year ago you thought was impossible. So we put it in the vision, or we even thought that it was impossible, using ourselves as a case study. So we wrote down all of this stuff, when we first started working with a coach, that Jay would work 25 hours a week, which we thought was the most impossible thing ever, because at the time he was working 80. We would go on vacation for 4 weeks out of the year.
Also seemed totally like absurd. It just seemed absurd.
So we always are working towards reaching things in the vision, obviously. So now, today's date, which was 4 years ago, probably, that we wrote the original one, or 5.
Almost 5.
9 years ago. So 5 years ago, we put down that we would have 4 weeks of vacation, that he would be working 25 hours a week. So now he's working 25 hours a week most of the time. There are times where we do hustle a little bit more than that, but most of the time is 25 hours a week for both of us each. And we take a minimum of 5 weeks vacation a year, all in the summertime. So, and then that doesn't include the time that we go for Christmas, or we go for a birthday, or we go on our retreats for our coaching groups. So it just, don't think in the time frame and in the mindset that you have now. Think big and think grandiose and totally impossible things, because if you have a vision of where you want to be, and you take the action and put it into play, then it seems like it just starts happening. So now we're 5 years later, we have to redo our vision again for the 3rd time, because we just keep ticking the boxes. So don't worry about any kind of constraint or filter that you can put yourself into when trying to figure out what you want to do, because the impossible is totally possible if you have the right mindset.
Yeah, and that was a big factor, I think, for both of us when we first did our vision. It was hard not to include the work element or the money element. Like, well, I'd like to write down this, but I don't, I can't make enough money to do that, or I don't have enough money to do that, or I would like to work from home, but I'm unable to do that. or, whatever that obstacle is. It doesn't matter. You just write down what you want. Like Annie said, no filter is the key for that. And it's a work in progress. It's not something that happens right away. Like Annie said, I wrote down my calendar. It was funny initially because I happened to still have like 45 hours of work left. And I think we'll get into the calendar section here in a little while to show you how to develop that out. But the whole point of that was I came home, I immediately tried to work 25 hours when I had been working 80. Okay, so everything went to crap.
Real quick. There was nothing in place for him to stop working 80 hours. There were no systems written out, no procedures, nobody to help him other than myself. So he went from 80 hours to 25, and I went from 30 to 65 to pick up the slack. So that obviously wasn't the right way of doing things.
Yeah, and we'll caution you too that when we first started, like Annie said, she was helping. We hadn't hired anyone yet to help us. We were running multiple companies, just the two of us, especially a lot with me primarily because Annie was, I think she was finishing up her last degree at that time. Final degree. I'm going to add that.
The many degrees I have, yes.
Plus
kids.
Plus our kids were younger. They still couldn't manage they weren't self-sufficient yet. Now they're older, 12 through 18. And so they're self-sufficient at this point. So yeah, everything went to crap. And then we had to reset. Annie started taking over. So her hours, mine were here, hers were here. Hers started to go up and mine came down. And then I was like, wait a minute. Like, you're going to start working too much. And so then we quickly made adjustments to our plan, and we hired someone just part-time. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to touch on that for a moment.
Yeah, and like this quote from Elon Musk says, if something is important enough, even if the odds are against you, you should still do it. So just because things went to crap initially doesn't mean that we threw the vision out the window and said, oh, forget it, it doesn't work, right? So
and it wasn't easy,
right? And it's not easy, and it takes adjustment period and adjusting and tweaking the things that you do on the day-to-day to get to where you want to be ultimately with your vision.
Yep. And we just started working together at that point, so there was a lot of clashing. We didn't know who was going to do what. We didn't really have any systems or procedures in place. And so we had to really meet with our coaches regularly to go over what was happening so that we could get adjustments. At first we were planning a once a week meeting so that we could go over systems, procedures, how we ended up having a daily that is big in order for us to be successful in the beginning.
To get all the kinks worked out and to make it work.
So I don't know what you guys think, but I think one of the biggest obstacles for people that think about writing out a vision or even doing a vision board, but especially writing one that you can repeat, say, see, is, what do we write? Right.
What do you include? What all of, what areas do we even brainstorm on? So you guys that are on this call with us are coaching students of ours. So you know what the Wheel of Life is all about at this point. We just got back from a retreat and had you fill out the Wheel of Life as far as what you thought your situations were at that point in time. So that's what the basis of the vision is all about. Just the different aspects of your life. So whether it's personal development or your spiritual life, your career / business, your finances, Your family and friends are both either together or separate, depending on the wheel that you see and what you choose to use. Typically, in our vision, we separate out family and friends, but that's not necessarily the way that has to be done. So what you do for fun and recreation and your health and fitness. So then you can obviously look at where you are in each category of your life and where you would like to be. And obviously there's always room for improvement, as we all know.
So this is a spot where you guys would pause the recording and rate each category 1 to 10. Like, where do you feel you are financially? It could be the development of your career or business, or it could be the current career that you're in. That could go kind of either way.
Yep.
How do you feel about your spiritual being? And 1 would be like, it couldn't really get any worse. And then 10 would be, it couldn't get any better. Okay. And we've done this with dozens and dozens of people. And what we've discovered is I've never seen anybody put a 10 down. Now, I personally haven't even put a 10 down. So after dozens of analysis of analyzing people's charts, everyone believes that they have room to improve in every area. So I think that's why it's key to continue to use this and see where you're ending up. And we have our coaching students do this every 4 months.
Yep.
And then they can refer back and see, okay, how was I before with friends and how am I now? But for the moment, just fill out 1 to 10 where you believe you are on the wheel. Okay, so you should have paused it and done that exercise by now. And so now you're going to look at each area and go, okay, my career is at a 4. How can I get it to a 5 or a 6? All right. And so you can make little notes as to what you want these areas to, how you want them, how they could improve. How can you get it even just 1 notch higher?
Right.
Right. And so those, whatever those activities are, and we'll use an example. Do you want to do one or you want me to do one?
It doesn't matter.
Okay, maybe we'll both do one. So as far as, so fun, I'll do fun and recreation, because when I first started getting coached by someone on a regular basis, this was a 1. If it was -1, it would have been -1. I wasn't doing anything for fun or recreation. In fact, when I got to this and I was told, fill this in, what would you do for fun? Mm-hmm. And I want to take it a step deeper. What would you do in all these areas, like if you didn't have to work, right? You had tons of money in the bank, everything's set, your bills are paid, money's flowing in freely each month. What would you do in these categories? Okay. And some might say, well, career would be eliminated, but some people mean. So, even if we're close now, we would still coach others, because that gives us purpose in life and gives us fulfillment. And that's what we believe that we were called to do. But the fun and recreation, I had trouble coming up with things. So I had to go back to like my teenage years and my 20s. What did I do for fun? Well, I like to ride my bike. I like to sing. I I like to play an instrument. I like to work out. And so I started to just fill in things that would fulfill me. And so what happened was I started singing more. I joined the choir at my church. I started riding my bike. I started working out more. I started doing races, and I started small. I started with running a mile, and then I ran my first 5K, and then I ran a 10K, and then I did a sprint marathon, and then I did an Ironman. So I kept pushing myself in this wheel, and I continue to do that. So that was an example of what I put in here. And then this personal mastermind group meets every 4 months. And so we set goals from this pie. Like if I want to run a half Ironman, I can't just go out and run it one day.
Well, you could, but
I could try, but probably would fail. It takes time, action steps, split up into small sections. And so I had an entire training program for 120 days, how to get from 0 to Ironman. And I followed those steps. And was it perfect? No. I did, you're supposed to work out 6 days a week, and I usually did 5. There might be a week once or twice where I did 4, but normally I was doing 6, or at least the 5.
okay.
You're supposed to pick a
I'm
category.
supposed to pick category. So, I don't know what to pick. I guess health and fitness, as he's pointing to health and fitness. That's what I'm supposed to talk about.
No, you pick whatever you want.
No, I'm kidding. So health and fitness, I've always been healthy-ish, right? But when I first started with as a student in the coaching program, I was probably the heaviest that I've ever been after 4 kids in my entire life. I've always been around 125 to 135 typically, even in high school and when we were married and in college and all of that. But 5 years ago, I was probably at 165 pounds, 170 sometimes, depending. And I knew that I needed to work out. I felt better when I worked out. I knew that I needed to eat healthier. I wasn't completely healthy, but I was not in a place where I wanted to be. So, I had been putting off doing anything about it. And complaining a lot about the fact that I didn't like how I looked. I didn't like how my clothes fit. It just was not who I wanted to be overall.
So where would you say you were health and fitness number-wise
I was just going to say
at that point?
So I would say I was probably at a 2 or a 3 at the best. On my good days, I was maybe at a 4, but most of the time I was at a 2 or a 3. So we had a coach. We had coaches, actually. And in our coaching group, they said, well, why don't you just do it? Why don't you just do what you say that you know you want to do and that you know that you need to do? And I finally said, it has to be big in order for me to do it, because I know what I need to do. I realize that something needs to be done, but there's nothing that's motivating me enough to make it happen. So, for whatever reason, I decided, and I still don't know why I decided to say yes, but it was a challenge that was thrown out to me as our group collectively. And it was just, I said it out loud. So that's all I needed as far as motivation to make it happen. And I said it out loud to our group of 30 seats, and 60 people knew that I needed to have it and it was going to be on my butt if it didn't happen, right? And I had to my consequence was I had to go live on Facebook and tell everybody that were friends with me and that was watching that I had no integrity, that all I said was a bunch of crap, and that no one should believe anything that I had to say. That was my consequence for not making the goal. So the goal that I set for myself was to be bikini bodybuilding competition ready in 4 months. And the waypoints for that goal were to be on a strict meal plan, to hire a trainer, and to work out twice a day, 6 days a week at least. So that was a huge goal for me, and it seemed totally impossible at the time because, like I said, I was like 168, I think, at that point in time.
Yeah.
And 4 months later, after lots of blood, sweat, and tears, literally every day.
Literally, I know. I was there with her.
There were lots of tears, lots of sweat. There was some blood at some point, to be honest. And a very strict meal plan of only certain things that I was allowed to eat. And I had to eat every 2 hours. And it was lots of Brussels sprouts, lots of asparagus, lots of chicken, lots of egg whites. And I, to this day, cannot eat egg whites anymore because it was just so much of all of that at one time. There was so much food that I didn't want to eat it at some time. It was just, there was lots of complaining on my part, but I did it. And 4 months after I set that goal, I was down to 148 pounds. So I lost 20 pounds, and I had lost 13 and a half inches. So I dropped from a size 14 to a size 6 the day of the retreat. So just constant looking to an goal. And I honestly have kept 90% of it off. So I'm happy with that. And I know that I should be doing some other things to get down a little bit further even and maintain it. But just to put in the work and have a goal with the waypoints and a group to hold you accountable was huge. So my health and fitness went from probably a 2 to a 3 to about a 7, I would say, in all honesty, because I know it can always be improving, but it was a huge accomplishment for me at that point in time. So you guys probably our drive's going crazy. On that note, I'm going to go see what's going on in JP.
So one key point I want to make is it is imperative that you do this exercise and make a list of the goals that you want to hit. But then it adds a whole nother level of accountability, I would say, if you are sharing it with others. And then if you don't have a coach, then you should be partnering up with someone or talking with someone about this. But your level of success is going to increase so dramatically if you have a coach and or peers to keep you accountable and help you to stay on track. And that's why once we set these goals, then we're splitting them into, okay, how do I take this into a weekly task or a weekly action plan? Because it's one thing to say it. It's another thing to write it down. It's another thing to tell others that you want to do it. But then it adds the highest level of accountability if you have a coach and now you're writing down every week what you're doing. And then you can check and see, like, okay, I said I'm going to work out regularly. Well, that doesn't, what is regularly, right? Is that once a month? I mean, you can't hold yourself accountable if you say, I'm going to work out regularly. But if you say, I'm going to work out a minimum of 3 times a week, now you have something that you can hold yourself accountable to, your peers or your coach can hold you accountable to, and you can measure it. And then if you get off track, you mark, you worked out twice this week, and then you review on Sunday, oh, I only worked out twice. This week, I really need to work out 4 times so that I can be back on track with the goals that I've set for myself. Okay? So that's why we have you write the exercise down. This is where you are now, and way over here is where you want to be. And so that's why you're going to set waypoints like, hey, I want to get into shape. You can say, I want to lose 20 pounds, but what if you don't hit that, but you actually hit your goals, right? It's hard to measure, I want to lose 20 pounds. And in fact, there's only one measurement, that's the weight loss. Well, I don't know if you've heard multiple times, people have said muscle weighs more than fat. Well, if you're lifting weights and you're eating well, it's very possible that you could lose 15 pounds, but you gained 10 pounds of muscle. So you might lose 4 or 5 inches around your waist instead. Well, if you're just measuring weight loss, then you may be upset when you step on the scale and see your results. And the other thing is to factor in, and especially for women, but women can fluctuate depending on their cycle. Like when Annie measuring regularly, she might weigh 5 pounds more during a certain time of the month. Now it looks like she gained 5 pounds, but it's actually just dependent on her cycle and how much fluid she's retaining. And so that's another reason why when you're setting health, it's really important to make sure that you're tracking it and that you're setting number of workouts or length of time worked out or something to that effect. And that's just one example. Again, don't limit your thoughts on what you think is achievable. If you told me that I was going to accomplish an Ironman 5 years ago, I would have laughed in your face.
Yeah.
Like, I could barely run 2 miles. So don't limit yourself on what you think that you can achieve, because you don't know until you push yourself and try.
And don't limit your time, like you had said earlier. Sorry. Don't do the calendar exercise that we're going to talk about earlier and leave space open from 8 to 5 so you can work, right? Because that, unless your perfect life is that you work 8 to 5 every day, and then that's a different story. But I don't know anybody that prefers to work 8 to 5 every day. And then don't limit your bank account to where, well, I can't do this because I don't have the money, or I can't do that because it's going to cost too much and I don't know where that money's coming from. There should be no filter on doing your vision of any kind, truly.
Yeah, perfect example is Colton, right? Colton's in our mastermind group. Young guy, just getting his career started. He's like 25 years old. And he said, I want to do real estate investing so that I can save money and build and open my own studio, right? Well, by asking him a series of questions and by all of us focusing our attention on him during his time in the hot seat for our mastermind meeting, he was able to discover that he could have a studio now, right? He could have his purpose in life, his vision in life, begin to work now and build that business by going out and networking with other dance studios, other gyms, other places that don't offer hip-hop dance, which is what his specialty is. He was a professional dancer in LA for 5 years. And then he comes back to little old Central Ohio in the Midwest. Do you think that people look up to him and want to learn from him? Someone that lived his dream dancing professionally for 5 years in the hardest market in the United States. So it's important that you share these vision elements with other people, because you may discover that there's ways for you to live these vision elements now. Another quick example is one of our coaches, Sean McCloskey, wanted a boat because he wanted to take his friends out, and he's saving all this money for a boat, but he had nowhere to store it, no way to pull it, so he's gonna have to buy a pickup truck, and then he's gonna have to build a garage, and now he needs $150,000 to enjoy this boat. And after it was discovered that he would only use it a few times a year, that he could just rent a boat and it could just be sitting at the lake waiting for him, and then he could take his friends out when he wanted. So that's why we tell you, don't limit your thoughts and your bank account, because you may discover a way to live a bunch of these elements now.
Yeah, of course, there's always room for improvement. So regardless of where you are in your circle of life now, compared to where you would like it to be, or, you set your goals and you set your vision. And like I said, 5 years ago, we don't have the same vision today that we did then. And we're not going to have the same vision a year from now that we do today. We typically review it every year and something changes. There's always room for some type of improvement.
Yeah, and that relays back to the wheel of life too. Like, no one has ever put a 10.
Right.
And so that is evidence to me that all of us as people believe that we can improve in every area of our lives. And it may be that you're focusing on all the areas to improve them a little bit, or you may have one area that's really low, that's a 1, 2, or 3, that you want to take to go for a period of time, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, whatever that time frame is that you decide. You may decide, I'm going to focus very heavily on this one area or these 1 or 2 areas, and then after that, but the goal is to keep the other ones in about the same spot. But I'm going to focus on these 1 or 2 areas, and then I'm going to jump to a different area or a different section. Okay.
Absolutely. Just like my health and fitness goal, that was the one thing that I focused on for that quarter, was to just get to where I wanted to be. And now I've kind of maintained that. So then we can focus on other things like our finances and our family relationships and our personal improvement or romance or whatever you want to focus on next.
Okay, so
this is the calendar exercise that we were talking about. And you can click on it and there's some more stuff that pops up, just so you know.
Okay.
So, what did your days look like? What if you had nothing to worry about and no commitments that had to happen? What would your day look like? And we do this calendar exercise because that way you can fill in the time slots. Now, if you don't want to be up at 7 a.m., then don't put that you're going to have breakfast with your family and your kids or whomever you're going to have breakfast with until you get up out of bed.
Yeah, that's not on Annie's calendar, by the way.
Does not happen on my calendar very often, if I'm being 100% honest. But that's okay, because that's not where I want it to be. So Jay and I have a goal, or did for the longest time. We have kind of slacked on that, about working out together. So we used to work out from 9 to 10 or 9 to 10:30 every Monday through Friday, especially when I was doing my health and fitness goals. So that was on there. And then Jay singing in the choir is Monday night. So he has that on his. And then Friday night, everybody that knows us knows date night is Friday night. So we try to end work early, typically by 3, so that we can kind of get a plan together if we don't already have one together, figure out what the kids are going to do for dinner and make sure that they're covered. And then everybody knows that Friday night is date night. So typically we have no one call, no. So we try real hard anyway to get Friday night date night. And then Sunday, which I don't know if you guys can see that or not because
They
of
can't.
the video.
Yeah.
But
They can't see this.
move it to the other side. There we go. So we go to church on Sundays at 10:30 as a family. Some days our kids go kicking and screaming, and other days they go willingly, but they go regardless. And then Sunday is typically family day. So we do whatever together, the six of us. We go out to eat, or we have family dinner at home, or we watch a movie, we go to a movie, we do board games, whatever the kids really kind of want to do. So family day is typically on Sunday for us. And then, the rest of the time we can fill in, we can fill in whatever we want. Because again, you're not supposed to fill in stuff based on when you're going to work, right? So,
And this, I wanted to make a point too, that we learned pretty quickly that we could start goal stacking. Okay. I love that term. And that would be, like workout at the gym, but mine was workout at the gym and spend quality time with my wife. So, that's why we started working out together. Now, like Annie said, we're not working out together right now, really.
Although we need to be.
I've been running and doing yoga, and she's been doing Eula with one of her friends. So she's spending quality time with one of her friends now. Instead, I got pushed to the side.
Stop it. You did not get pushed to the side. You're so deprived.
My dog still loves me, though.
And all of you know that Jay is...
No, he doesn't.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you very much.
You work out with me, huh, Gizmo?
So anyway, goal stacking is, working out together so that you get qualifying together and, whatever you need to do mixed with who you want to do it with kind of thing, so that it's accomplishing more than one thing at a time.
Yeah, and you could count working out together as a date together. You get to spend quality time together, and would absolutely count that.
Yeah, which some of our students, Grant and Ashley, do that. I believe they go on walks and hikes together so that they're working out and that they're spending quality time together, or take their kids on a walk or whatever. So the biggest thing about your vision is not filtering it with the day-to-day stuff that you typically do, but knowing your why. Why do you want to do this? Why do you want to live the life that you have said that you want to live? Why do you want to spend more time with your family? Why do you want to travel? Why? Everybody gets so not really irritated, but asking, why do you keep asking me why? Well, to drill down deep into the reasoning that you're doing it. So my workout goals and my health goals were because I wanted to be around for my kids and around to spend time with Jay and feel healthy and be happy because I felt better. And spending quality time with Jay and our children both is more of, we want to have the best relationship that we can have as a couple, so that our kids feel, that they see what a real relationship is like, and that they feel confident in our relationship as their parents. And, that goes along with feeling safe and secure and all of that as kids. And, all of the underlying question for the reason that you put the stuff on the vision, it should always be, why do you want this?
Yeah. So I work out regularly. I'm a healthy, fit beast because I want to perform at the highest level I can, physically, mentally, and spiritually. And it fulfills my spirit to work out and feel like I am improving myself. So that would be an example of what you would write on your vision. You're not just going to put, I work out. right? You want to dig deeper as to why it is that you want that for your life. I love to travel because I love to see new places, meet new people, experience new experiences with my family and my friends. So make sure when you're jotting down each section and writing down what you're doing, what is the driving force behind that.
Yeah, just like this quote says, know your why. It's the driving force behind everything. So just keep that in mind as you think about that and what you want to put on your vision. We always say to write your vision in present tense as if it's already happening, and to use emotion and passion and clear, concise language, like Jay said earlier. Don't say I work out because I want to feel this way so that 10 years from now things are, my body is what I want it to be. Say I work out 3 times a week so that I feel like the person that I want to be, or what have you. You know what I mean? So use present tense. I go on vacation 3 times a year or for 5 weeks at a time to spend quality time with my family. Not I plan on going on vacation or I will go on vacation. Use it as if it is happening now, and use the emotion and passion of your why to make it into a statement that is clear, concise, and it's happening. So as you read it, you're training your brain and your spirit into, thinking that it's actually happening, so that you take the initiative to make it happen with the passion that it's going to take to make things better. Yes?
Yeah. Also, there's no right or wrong way to do your vision. Exactly. It's whatever feels comfortable to you. Some people write out a paragraph for each section. Some people do just bullet points. Some people do a blend of the two, and then they may put their action step even right under it, of how they're going to make that happen. So if you ever want examples of that, reach out to us, at Annie at jandannieadkins.com or Jay at jandannieadkins.com, and we can send you a couple of samples of vision statements that we have seen. The main thing is, though, is to try to condense it down to like 1 or 2 pages so that you can quickly and easily review it. We don't have ours hanging on our mirror at a certain time. We've had it hanging on our bathroom. We've had it hanging on our bedroom wall. We've written it out there. Now on our wall, we usually are putting our goals, our current goals for the next 4 months in each category. But I've got mine on my phone now, so I can just pull it up and read it on my phone after I do my meditation in the morning. And so that makes it quick and easy for me to look at it, and I'm actually saying it out loud. So I'm seeing it, I'm reading it, I'm visualizing it, I'm stating it out loud, and I'm hearing it. I think to me it's more powerful that way, at least for me, to do it in that manner.
So this is just a quick little statement from Steve Jobs, obviously. So if you're working on something exciting that you really care about, you don't have to be pushed. The vision pulls. So if you have a vision of what your life, what you want it to look like, you don't have to push as hard. You can, as you read it, it just kind of pulls you into that state of being and the steps that you need to take in order for it to be accomplished.
Yep. And we had done the calendar we showed you guys. So we would encourage you at this point to pause the video if you're watching a replay and write out on your calendar, take a blank calendar on a piece of paper, or you can do it digital, and write out what would your day look like if you didn't have to work? Yep. Like, what would you do? And try to incorporate all of the elements that are in your vision or in your pie, the ones that relate to you into your calendar. Like if you're not spiritual, obviously you would leave that one out.
If you don't have a relationship, then, and you don't care to have a relationship, then you would leave that section out for now.
Right. Okay, so once you complete the calendar exercise, now you've got a foundation of what you want your life to look like. And now it's time to take that vision and put it into action.
So this is where you can take and put in like specifics. If you want to be, for instance, a size 6 or be healthy, happy, and whole for your children and yourself and your family, then you can take that statement and make it into the actionable items of working out 3 times a week or 6 times a week or twice a day for however many weeks, or put into not necessarily your vision, but to put actionable steps and waypoints so that it ultimately reaches your goal of being happy, healthy, and for your family and yourself, and size 6, whatever that statement of yours is going to be.
Yep.
Make sense?
So at this point, you've done the wheel of life, you've done the calendar exercise, you've written out what you want to do when you don't have to work anymore. And now you're going to analyze those and break them down into, okay, which of these can I start to do elements of now? Okay. And I'm trying to think of an example where I think before, when we first started, I don't think we could work out every day together. I think.
No, we couldn't. And in actuality, when we had written our vision the first time, we were not going on date nights. We had no date nights.
No, that's a good example.
We would spend time together, but it was more with our kids, and it was, in the thick of the day-to-day activities of a family and of working from home. And there was no real specified date night or time that Jay and I got for ourselves together. So the first vision that we had, and to make it the best that it could be, or something along those lines. And so then we took that vision for our relationship and broke it down into.
First, we tried 10 date nights.
Right. In a quarter.
The first 4 months, that was our goal, was 10 date nights.
And then
our coaches pushed us to be better.
To be better than that.
Because that's what coaches do.
So then we added, it was, 12, I think?
Yep.
And then the next retreat, it was like 25 or something.
And then it was every week.
And then it became,
We just did one every week.
Now it's not even really a thought as to whether or not it's going to happen, unless we're just both too exhausted to make it happen. So now we just stay home and watch it. We lock ourselves in the bedroom and we order pizza or order Chinese food, or and then just watch a movie here at home, or a show that we've been binge watching on Netflix or whatever. So we still get the quality time. That's the last slide, just so you know.
Okay.
And again, I'm not sure why I went crazy, but
somebody's at the door.
So you put in the waypoints and that are the actionable items, that are the measurable steps, so that you can have something to say, oh, I kind of slacked in this area, or I hit my goal and excelled even beyond my own expectations in that area. So the vision is the foundation for the goals that you set on a weekly or quarterly or yearly basis, or even, 2 to 5 years out or whatever. So basically what we like to say is you do the exercises to get your vision in place, and then you work from your vision backwards to make it as clear-cut, actionable items and steps.
Yeah.
So you're going to note that you're going to see, once you write your vision down and you've done the calendar exercise and you have established your waypoints and your tasks to do, you're going to see within 6 to 12 months typically is when you're going to have to revise your vision. You're going to get to a point where, okay, I've hit these things in my life. Now what do I want? Right. So don't try to do the vision perfect. It's never going to be perfect. Like we said, it's like a living, breathing organism. It's going to develop and change over time. And so the important thing is when you're writing down the areas, just in each section, just try to not filter it and write it down as fast as you can, as many ideas as you can for each category. And then you can whittle it down. Say you had 10 things in health and fitness. You may decide that you're going to put 3 or 4 of those into your vision. Currently, you're going to condense it down, and those are the things that you're going to focus on at this point until you come back and review it later, whether you're in our group or you're in another group, or you're formed your own group.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to encourage you guys to reach out to us if you're interested in discovering more, joining our group. We've got all of these wonderful people in our mastermind group. Some of them are on the call with us now. And we just had our last mastermind retreat. It was fantastic. Everybody had a great time, and we've all been working on the goals and submitting those. And we're looking forward to seeing everybody's growth in the next 4 months. So, again, just to recap, do the wheel of life, figure out where you're at, 1 to 10.
Do the calendar exercise.
Write down what's important to you in each category,
Mm-hmm.
condense it down into a sheet, print it off, hang it up, put it on your computer screen, put it on your phone, record your own voice, listen to it in your car, put it on your mirror, say it every day, and start living the life that you deserve, that you want.
About being a member of a mastermind group, you have an accountability circle as well. So if you share your ideas of your perfect life or your vision with others, then it gets to a point where you can use it as a filter. And even our kids to this day now say, well, is that in your vision that you're doing that? Or are you supposed to be doing that? Because I don't think that that's in your vision for your life.
Yeah, they know when they see it and they read it. Like, I don't think working at 8 o'clock. What are you going to say to that? Right.
So yeah, if you share it with others and you have an idea of what you want in your life, that's late, and you got to filter those naysayers and negativity out of your life in general. But if you share with like-minded people that this is your vision, then they can kind of keep you on track. That's why we, in our group that we coach, prefer to have all of the members submit their visions so that we know what it looks like. And then we can say, if you bring a topic into the group, like, I'm going to go do this, and we're like, that's not what it says here. So did your vision change, or are you just chasing a shiny object?
Yep. And the other thing is, once you get your calendar done, you guys should be looking at, okay, how many hours are left on that calendar? And those are the sections where I'm going to fill in my work. Okay.
so that it's hyper-focused and that you have a limited amount of time. So as we all know, if we go on vacation or we want to take a day off or something, we always have a list of stuff that needs to be accomplished before we leave. And that stuff gets ticked off pretty quick because you know you have a limited amount of time. So then you become hyper-productive if you have only a specific amount of time to work.
Yep. And then someone asked me numerous times in the beginning, like, hey, can you show me houses Friday night? Or, hey, should we do this Friday night? And I just say, I'm sorry, I'm already booked. Because I am, in my calendar, I'm booked with my wife. Okay? So that's really important to keep your integrity to yourself and make sure that you're staying in line with what you have written down that you want for yourself and your relationships and your family. And then you're going to do a similar exercise for your business, which, we do business breakdowns regularly from scratch or ripping somebody's business down and totally rebuilding it.
To fit in your vision.
Yeah, to help them fit their business into their vision. So we'll open it up for any questions from our students right now. You guys have any questions at all? And you're muted. Most of you are. I'm going to unmute you if I can. I unmuted Tom.
Tom's got himself muted. So does Sean. They all got themselves muted.
Mike's muted. Oh.
There's Mike.
Sorry, Will and I were tying up today, but it's quitting time for him, so he's good to go to the house.
That's right. I quit.
It's not in his vision to work after 6 p.m.
That's it. Think shame my love.
You guys have any questions at all?
Comments, statements?
Did you? I was a little bit in and out with my attention span there. Did you put anything in there about stretch goals? Just kind of have as far as like really shooting or swinging for the fences.
We didn't necessarily call them stretch goals, but we did say, to make it seem like it's totally impossible, which is a good verifying statement at it. You're stretching things that you think are totally unobtainable kind of thing.
Yeah, just to clarify, Mike's mentioning stretch goals. We set pretty high goals in between retreats. And then we set some stretch goals some people do on stuff that would be just incredible that if they got that done. But it's a stretch goal. So in other words, if they don't hit it, there's not going to be some kind of consequence that they've chosen.
Right.
Because they do. I mean, our students choose consequences. Someone just did not hit their goals. We won't say any names.
But there was definitely a bone of contention for not hitting those goals. And
they had to give up. They had to give up coffee and wine for an entire month, and then the other person had to give up coffee for a month,
entire quarter,
or no, 4 months. Yeah. 4 months. So you wouldn't want to put your stretch goal under that category. Yeah, we did touch on specific vision elements to not put any filters on it at all. Anybody else have any questions?
Can you hear me, Jack?
Yes.
Okay, this is John. The question that I have for you is, if you have a full-time job, how do you accommodate that in the schedule that you break down, that you lay out?
That's a good question, John. And I think that I'm guessing 70% of the people that probably end up seeing this have jobs. So in that instance, you are acting as if you don't have a job anymore. You have an endless supply of money in your bank account. And so you don't work anymore, and you're just filling in the calendar
with things that you want to do.
With things that you want to do with your life, as if you didn't have to work and money was no object.
So obviously, you're not going to be able to be living those portions of your vision 100% right away, because then you have to either work until you retire or work until you come up with an idea and put a plan into place to get you out of that 9-to-5 job or whatever the job hours are. But you can be doing little things on your time off to get you to the ultimate calendar and the ultimate goal, which is living your vision 100%. So, but do the calendar exercise as if you have no job, as if you have no worries, as if you have no constraints of any kind, so that you ultimately get your ultimate life and the clear vision of what you want your life to be. And then that will allow you to make some decisions for your job and your day-to-day and your other things to get you to those spots faster.
Yep. And that's why we tell you to write down everything that you would like in each category as fast as you can, because we're trying to stop your brain from filtering because of your work.
Growing up, yeah.
Or because you don't,
roadblocks.
Yeah, because you don't have the money. And we would encourage you to even go back and look at each category and say, did I filter this because of money or time? Yeah. Did I filter this section because of money or time? And do that on each one before you go and put it all together in your single sheet. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. It's not easy. It's not easy to do, John, but you just got to do it. Easy to filter.
Very easy to filter.
It's our human nature, actually. How we've been conditioned. Anybody else have any questions or comments or concerns?
Jerry, can you hear me?
Yeah.
This might need to wait for my own coaching call, but in regards to the filtering and everything with that, like how crazy do you go and reading like Rich Dad Poor Dad? You don't work for money, you make money work for you. Like when you set these goals and you see like money in your IRA or money in your 401k, you could get your goals accomplished and take it out with penalty, but then make it back within the same 5 years. Like how crazy do you go with this, or would you plan with that?
So you prompted a good point that I think we left out, and that is in your personal vision. I'm going to mute people for a minute because I hear someone's voice.
Restart back.
So in your personal vision, there's nothing in there about I make X amount per year, or I have X amount in the bank, or I've built a 7-figure business, or I've flipped 20 houses a year. This is strictly personal. Okay. Now, I know the Wheel of Life has a finance section on it.
Well, and our personal vision has a finance section on it. Kinda.
But initially.
Right. But there aren't any numbers attached to that. I mean, it's just like our financial statement says we have the freedom to do and go wherever we want, whenever we want, to help whomever we need to or feel compelled to help. So there's not really any kind of specific dollar amounts at all. Now, we've set some pretty high goals and waypoints during those quarterly goals with specific dollar amounts, like $100,000 a month. That was one goal for a while.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there are different ways of doing it, but ultimately the personal vision statement doesn't have any specific dollar amounts or business items in it whatsoever, really.
Yeah, I would encourage you guys to do all of the other sections first and then do the finance last. And do the calendar exercise after that as well. I hope, does that make sense? Whoops. Does that make sense, Annie?
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And then we can sit down with you for your coaching session, go over details like, okay, how can I make these vision elements happen faster? And that's when we help you break down, okay, you need to flip X amount of houses, or you need to get X amount of rentals, or you need to start a business that brings in X amount per month revenue to help you pay your basic bills. And then one other key point is, one final step would be, once you map out that vision, then start writing down the dollar amounts. What would it actually cost you to live that vision? So you guys have your finance budget now for what you need just to pay your bills, right? And then you have your new budget, your vision budget. Like, what's it going to cost me to live this vision that I've written down? And you can break that down into an annual cost, and then break that down into a monthly cost. Then you can see, okay, I'm making $10,000 a month now, and to live everything on my vision is $25,000. So I'm making 10 already. I just need to increase to 15 and 15 more. And now I can live all the elements in my vision that I wanted to live.
So, yeah, that comes, I think most of you have heard me say, figure out your dollar amount, what your time is worth. That's where that all comes into play too. So if you want to be living your vision, you have a number of what that looks like and what that means. To live your vision, I have to make X amount of dollars. So then you break it down to however many hours you have available to work according to the calendar. And then that's how much money you have to be making per hour to make sense. And if it's not that hourly rate, then it's not worth your time. So it becomes another filter, which is digging down even further into the vision and the calendar exercise.
Yeah, but to dig down just briefly for another minute, when we did this exercise and I figured out my hourly rate was almost $400 an hour, and Annie's also, then I figured out, well, it takes an hour to mow my grass, and I can pay someone $25. So I shouldn't be cutting the grass.
So yeah, as students say, what's the best use of your time? That's where that comes into play too.
We don't grocery shop anymore. Deliver it to our house. Because it takes, an hour and a half at the grocery, 10 to 15 minutes to get there, 10 to 15 minutes to get home, 2 hours a week by ordering our groceries online and getting them delivered. I just freed up 8 hours a month that allows me to bring in an extra 8 extra hours to work during the week, or maybe it's go play instead, right? We pay someone to clean our house. So those are things as examples that when you start to micro it down more, you're going to be like, well, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not doing that anymore. And suddenly you've got a bunch of extra hours freed up. That make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Anybody else have any questions or comments?
When we did the 3-day event, they hand out samples of visions. Do you have in your inventory a couple of samples of maybe 2 different types of routes that
Sure.
maybe could be shared with us? Not necessarily yours, but anybody's.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We've got a couple different ones we can send out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, we'll send you guys a few different styles. And if you're watching this replay later, reach out to us at Annie at jandannieadkins.com or jay@jandannieadkins.com. And
We
we'll
can send you those too.
we'll send you over a couple samples. We'd be happy to help anybody to have something to glance at and see what other people have developed for themselves.
Hey everybody, it's Jay.
This is Annie.
We are so grateful for you joining us on our podcast and listening in and participating. We want to offer you this additional free bonus, and that is joining our Facebook group.
Yes, where we will have other individuals, not just us, but having conversations on all things real estate, and we would love to have you join us. So just click the link below and head on over and join our group.
Thanks guys, we'll see you on the other side.